today is a special day for me. I love the opportunity to get together with Sean Fay, and he's been a great partner for the University of Washington for the Global Business Program and my course. He's talked with several groups of students over the years, and I always get so much positive feedback about it. I'd like to say a few things about Sean before he gets started here. First of all, he's part of the Husky family. He's a University of Washington graduate. What's interesting is that his major was philosophy. So he's a big thinker, and for me, that always comes across when he's talking about his career and what's important to me. He's an entrepreneur. There are at least 3 or 4 companies that he might mention when he's talking. A manufacturing company, Quick and Bright. He has his marketing company, Envision Response. And here's a recent article that has come out from Inc. magazine, which is one of the most important business magazines, particularly for entrepreneurship. So you can see the headline here: One Direct Response Growth Agency is changing the game, with a group of experts. That's an advertising dream team. And so he'll talk about that a little bit. He also he had a company that I loved called Truth Bar that made a health bar that I was addicted to, and that's originally how I met Sean. And then his new company, Wisdom Superfoods, is also about health and wellness also. So you'll probably hear a little bit about all of those. But I'm just so happy that we have the opportunity to visit with Sean. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Brad. First off, I just want to say I'm incredibly grateful to Fred and to the University of Washington for having me. This is a privilege for me to be able to speak to you. The main reason why I say that is because when I was growing up, I was terrified of public speaking. I just thought it was worse than death, right? But I knew it was important if you wanted to be an entrepreneur, you wanted to do things and then just being in school, you had to do it. But what happened to me over the course of my life, and this is kind of one thing you'll notice about me, is I talk a lot about life, and then I have business and entrepreneurship on top of that, and I want to talk more about that. But my shift, when I was afraid, when I was fearful of public speaking, I was so focused on how I felt in that moment, and not what can I do for you guys, right? What service can I provide you? Can I give you any value? So over the course of my life, really, as I've faced all my fears, from public speaking to, am I good enough to start a business? Can I make it succeed? Am I going to run out of money? Am I going to be broke? I realized that I shifted away from my feelings about, my fears and my kind of it's all about me, to how can I be of most value to somebody else? And I think that's one of the most important things I've learned about business and entrepreneurship, is that our primary purpose as entrepreneurs is to deliver the most amount of value to somebody else. You might start out saying, I want to start a business because I want to make money, or I want to be my own boss, or you might want to get into a career working for another organization, a high-level career. And again, it's I want to do it for all these reasons, but ultimately, how can you be of the most value to someone else? And when you focus on that, then you have a right and a responsibility to do the best job you can. And with that mentality, I've learned over my career, that's when you find success. Okay, so thanks again. It's my privilege to be of service, and and I hope you get some value from what I talk about today. One of the first things I want to say is, I actually just want to ask a question, and that is, can you tell me a little bit, can people tell me why you're taking this course? What are your goals? Why or what are your goals in taking this course? Does anybody want to comment? Just first thing that pops in your head. Go ahead.
Jose,
please.
I can see you want to raise your
Yeah,
hand.
you're next. You're
Go ahead.
next. Is it Amy?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm Amy.
Hi, Amy.
When I was in Japan, I majored in nutrition and science, so I didn't learn business stuff at home. But after working for 2 years in Japan, I realized I wanted to improve my English and business skills. That's why I completed
Great. And just curious, why did you want to improve your business skills? What's your ultimate goal?
So, through the working experience as a dietitian, and I was more interested in selling products,
Sure.
and that's related to business. And
Exactly.
I wanted to improve my
That's great.
skills.
Great point. And selling is like, has to be the very top thing, right? It's like, you have to have something good worth selling, but selling has got to be right up there. That's great. Anybody else? You guys, yeah? One of you. Go ahead.
It's like I just want to understand the cultural differences and the historical differences with business. It's like when I lived in Singapore and India as an internship student, at the time, I really I was faced with the cultural differences and historical differences, especially in India. So the behavior and the thinking and the conviction and the religion, everything aspect is upside down from Japan. And the flip side, Japan is really one country, one religion, one history, and one background, one education. That's why in Japan, it's like our conviction of history is really same, right? That's why I didn't have any opportunity to study and learn and adapt other country and other culture. That's why I'm here. I moved here and to understand, to adapt other countries' culture and with business. This is my goal.
So it sounds like you're interested in learning about different cultures and how they do business within their, perspective on the world, in addition to what you know from your own home and then the other experience you had.
Exactly. So
That's great. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry. So yeah, in the future, I want to connect with Japan and other country. So in order to connect other country and Japan, it's like the combination between business and the culture and religion is really really important and crucial. I think so that's why.
So you'd love to connect Japan with other cultures and do commerce and business. I love that. That's great. Does anybody else have, please?
So I choose Seattle to learn business because I wanted to learn about the eco-friendly, sustainable, green tech kind of business.
Great.
In Japan, I was a master course student who was majoring in marine biology and biochemistry, and did a research about it. And I thought I'm not a researcher guy, but I wanted to use that knowledge and start my own business in the future.
Great.
So I started learning business here and also Seattle is a sustainable city, so learning that kind of business.
You started lining it up and saying,
Yeah.
okay, this is a good place. Why did you want to start your own business? What's your goal, or why?
What is my goal? Well, that's
Or just why? What is appealing about it?
I just wanted to, leave something on earth that I did something.
Cool.
Yeah, that I don't want to die without doing anything. I just want to get something that I did.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a powerful reason. I love that. Just a couple quick things. I love your nutrition mention because health and nutrition is a big part of my story. I started a superfood company, 2 of them, because of that. I love what you said about culture. This right here is a Celtic symbol. If anybody knows about Celtic, it tends to come from Ireland, Scotland. My ancestors are from Ireland, and I just got back doing a Catholic, because I'm Catholic, but anybody can do it, pilgrimage through Spain called the Camino de Santiago. And I walked for 9 days, and I learned a lot. You learn a lot about life and yourself. I didn't work. I ended up taking 3 weeks off of work, which is the first time I've done that in 30 years. So I want to talk a little bit about, we are here for each other, and I love traveling, I love cultures, and I'm more fired up about my business after doing this pilgrimage in September than I have been in 30 years. So that's really cool. And I love what you're saying about eco-friendly. My product, Quick and Bright, is an eco-friendly cleaner, and I'm a big believer in sustainable products and doing something that delivers value, but that is not just delivering you value at home, but is good for the planet, the community, that kind of thing. And honestly, leaving something behind that's good is really at the heart of kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing too. It started out, I just didn't like having a boss. That's why I became an entrepreneur. I don't like being told what to do. That started when I was in high school, and I worked really, really hard for a grocery store chain, and they didn't promote me based on merit. They just did it based on politics and based on other reasons. And so I was like, this doesn't make sense. Who can I work for that will value my contributions? And I worked for entrepreneurs that own small companies, and they became my first mentors. And then I realized that these successful entrepreneurs could show me a path to becoming an entrepreneur myself, where I could have my own autonomy and I could be my own boss, and I could create something and leave it behind. And I'm gonna work hard, so I might as well get the benefit from that. So that was a little bit about it. So anyway, any more comments about why you're doing the course? One more, okay.
I will start working at financial industry from next year.
Okay.
So here I will be in charge of mergers and acquisitions. So also there are a lot of cross-border global deals. So I think I need to understand how business models of different people, how they think and how they act and how they act in negotiation situations. So that's it.
That's great. Well, I can tell you right now, let's stay in touch, because I'm going to need a mergers and acquisitions expert in 3 years when I sell Quick and Bright, because I'm building that company to sell. And then I'm doing international business. One of my reasons for going to Spain, besides doing the Camino, was to go to Portugal. And I have a new business associate there who's going to introduce my cleaning product to the Far East, to the Middle East, to Latin America, and to Europe. So international business is part of my story too. Anyways, let me go here. This is great. I appreciate all this feedback. So as Fred said, I studied philosophy at the University of Washington. I started out thinking maybe I wanted to study business because I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I had that experience where I didn't want to work for other people. I worked for a small entrepreneur in college that owned a pizza restaurant. And I liked it because he valued my hard work ethic. He's like, I'm gonna give you more hours. I'm gonna, whatever. You can go from delivering pizzas to being a waiter. Waiters make pretty good money. So I loved working for entrepreneurs. I'm in college. I think I want to own my own business. But I didn't know what to do. And I thought if I get a business degree, it'll teach me how to own my own business. Well, I also love philosophy. And the reason why is because my father traveled the world as a seeker, looking for knowledge about philosophy and spiritual paths. So he went to India, he traveled to the Middle East, he's been to Latin America. I have a half-brother from Argentina because of his first marriage. So my dad has always had a very seeking, spiritual, kind of philosophical perspective. And he studied something called Vedanta, which is a Hindu philosophy. And so I grew up with that, and so I always had an interest in philosophy. So when I got to the university, I started reading books. I love reading. And so I started reading books on philosophy, and I realized that not only is philosophy fascinating, which is just thinking about you know, big questions of life. Why are we here? What is the purpose? What's in the universe? How, you know, but also critical thinking about a problem. How can you look at it from multiple perspectives? So today I serve on the board of advisors to the Department of Philosophy at the University of Washington, and my goal is to try to help younger students understand that their philosophy degree, it's a great degree if you want to be in business, if you want to be in tech, if you want to be in medicine, because you need to be thinking about ethics, you need to be thinking about, you know, the big questions for all the decisions we make in business and life and politics and social. So I really value my philosophy degree every single day, and I would say I use it every day as I'm thinking about, you know, how do I approach a problem or challenge, because I'm looking at it from my perspective, potentially the opposite perspective, other people's perspective. So that's my pitch for philosophy and why it's I find it to be a good thing to study. Today, my philosophy practice involves Stoicism. So if anybody's heard of Marcus Aurelius or Seneca or you know, all the great Stoic philosophers, they really have created a blueprint for living that involves self-discipline, self-reflection, humility, temperance, you know, some of the good values of life. And that's a big part of my life too, is trying to integrate those things. I think I want to start with this, because it's been up here. So this is a article that came out last year. My company, Envision Response, turned 20 years old in 2023. So I founded it in 2003. I founded it after leaving my first agency. So I started a company in the 90s. It was called Cesare Response Television. Rick Cesare was my mentor and that entrepreneur I worked for after college, who taught me the business. And the business is direct response television. Back in the 90s, what we did was we made infomercials. And if anybody's ever heard of the George Foreman grill or Sonicare toothbrush, Bill McLean is the person we worked with back then. So Bill's a longtime friend. And OxyClean, lots of products. And we created these TV infomercials and then short form commercials. We put them on television with a website or an 800 number, and then people would buy it directly through the website. And so we built that first company prior to Envision to be the fastest growing private company in Washington State. So I come from pretty humble backgrounds. I was raised by a single mother. I did not have a lot of money growing up. I was delivering pizzas in 1993, and by 1996, I had the fastest growing private company in Washington. And a lot of that was the good fortune to meet my mentor, Rick, and then the great fortune to have one of our first clients be the George Foreman grill, which took us like instantly. We were very good at creating the infomercials, so that success, it was kind of like making your first movie and having it be a big hit. So we got really lucky, but that had to be sustainable. So we continued, and it turned out that I was pretty good at marketing, and that became my skill set. So what happened is when Rick and I split in 2003, I formed Envision, and I just started it just to be a job that I would have to help me. Well, a company I owned, but it was just me and a couple people. And over the course of the last 20 years, I've run it pretty much as a way to generate a certain level of income for me. And I would say up until about 6 years ago, that's all it did, is it provided me a pretty decent income. Sometimes I had 15 employees, and sometimes I had a big office space. Today, I have more revenue today than I did 10 years ago, and I have one full-time employee, and everybody else is distributed workforce. And we work with contractors. And last year, we made the Inc. 5000 because of our rapid growth between 2018 and 2021. So how did we do that? I hired this woman, Debbie Kelly. She's a former client of mine, from 2005. She was the head of the Food Saver, which is a vacuum sealing device. And what she did was she was managing me as the agency, and that's how we met. Over the course of the years, we stayed friends, and when she moved up here to go work for a company called Zulily, you might be familiar with that, she left that and said, I'm looking for an opportunity. And in 2019, I decided, well, why don't you come on board with me and help build the agency? And she has, and she's the chief client officer. And so all I do for my agency today is I bring in projects and then I hand them over to Debbie, and she works with the rest of the team to execute. And this is a dramatic difference from the way I used to operate. I used to be a micromanager that had to do everything a certain way. I think that comes from fear and a lack of confidence, where you're like, okay, I know I can do it, and if I screw it up, it's on me. But if I delegate it to somebody and they don't do it right, then I'll be frustrated and blah, blah, blah. So I used to operate that way, and it really was, it kept me from progressing. But over time, I ended up, learning not to be such a micromanager. And I brought Debbie on, and Debbie is just exceptional. And I've learned to trust people. So that's another thing that I think is important, is learning how to trust people. Debbie and I have managed to not only grow the creative side of the agency, the production and creative, but also the media. And she's a great partner. I believe that once you develop people, you bring them along with you and find out, like, what can I do for Debbie? Like, what does she want with her career and with her life? And the more that I share and the more that I give opportunities away to the people around me, the better and more successful I am. The more I hold on to myself and try to do everything, the less successful I am. That's been proven over the course of my career. I think one thing I want to cover is that I own 3 companies. That's a little crazy. I love being an entrepreneur. I love starting things and creating things. I've struggled with execution, and what that means is, like, you might have a great idea, you might get it developed, you might get some people interested, but then getting it all the way to the point of product market fit, and then having product market fit turn into profitability, and then scaling that profitability, that takes a lot. And the key is to bring in people that can help you with that, and again, not do it all yourself. What happened with my first nutrition brand, Truth Bar, is that my partner and I created an amazing nutrition bar that tasted like a candy bar, and we launched it. We brought in outside capital, we were able to launch it, and then immediately it became clear that between me running Envision and her running something else, that we weren't able to properly execute. And so we brought on a venture capital firm to acquire 85% of the entire company. And the 3 founders each got a small percentage, but we lost all of our control. So I like to say that that was my first exit, but we didn't actually get any money or capital for that acquisition. We just got stock in a new company, and then we had to be, we were supportive, but we weren't able to control how that venture capital office ran the business. And unfortunately, it didn't run it well, and it ended up in bankruptcy. And I almost bought the company out of bankruptcy, but I realized that I would have had to fight with one of my former partners who had a lot more capital than me. And so I just decided, and this was a lesson in humility, to let it go. And so she now operates truthbar.com, and I don't know how it's doing, but I'm proud of creating that product. I learned a lot. It was like going to college, that 3 years that we did it. And I know a lot of things I won't do, particularly when it comes to bringing in outside capital. You don't want to lose control of a product and a company that you really love and you feel confident you can grow. Because it was a great product, as Fred said. We had a lot of people that loved it. We needed to execute better. And since we couldn't do that, we handed it off to a group, and unfortunately they failed too, but we weren't able to get back involved. So Truth Bar was a great learning experience, and from that, I decided to start Wisdom Superfood. Now, I'm running Envision Response, and it's going pretty good, and I don't have to work quite the same level of hours that I used to in the early days because I have Debbie, and that's a great situation. One thing that I had to learn is that I am really an entrepreneur. I'm not just an ad agency owner. So I had to let go, like I said, and I had to trust people and focus on what I do best, which is bringing in sales and opportunities. That allowed me free time to start this other business. And where with Truth Bar, I didn't have that confidence yet. After seeing that I could, get Envision stable, I was able to say, okay, you can allow enough time to do Wisdom. And I started Wisdom in 2020. It has been sort of like, I'm the sole owner, and so it's been sort of a passion project, and this might happen to you in your life. And Wisdom hasn't quite taken off yet. It's a good product, it's got great reviews, but honestly, I haven't been able to dedicate the time to that I did with Envision or even Truth. So it's just kind of sitting there. In the meantime, my brother contacted me in February of 2022, and he said, do you want to buy Quick and Bread? You can switch to that Quick and Bread page for a second. He asked me if I wanted to buy, and then you're wondering, why is your brother asking you about a Quick and Bright? So Quick and Bright was one of my projects in the 90s that went from $4 million to $30 million after I produced their commercial, okay? So that's pretty big growth. This product sold like 8 million units back in the 90s because of the commercial that my partner and I created. Well, our first employee at my first agency was my brother, Justin. And he's 2 years younger than me, and he's brilliant. He was programming on a VIC-20 the same time Elon Musk was. Why my brother's not a billionaire, I don't know. But my brother's really smart, and he learned video editing, okay? And my partner dumped the Quick and Bright videotapes from the shoot on his desk, and my brother edited that first infomercial, and it was a big success. Now Justin, I left the company in 2003, Justin left the same day. He just walked out when I left. And he started his own creative agency doing video editing. Today, my brother's an Emmy Award-winning video editor and a pretty decent entrepreneur in his own right. He hasn't started companies, maybe a couple, but small things, but not to the level I have. But he stayed really good friends with Quick and Bright after I left the company. And they would go camping, him and the owners. By the way, Quick and Bright's a local company. They were founded here, and until I bought the company with Justin, they operated in Mount Lake Terrace. We now have a factory in Georgetown on the west side of the Boeing field. So we're right adjacent to where the airplanes are. So Justin called me and said, do you want to buy Quick and Bright? And at first I said, can we do that? Because I figured it would be a very expensive endeavor. But what had happened is, since we grew the company back in the late 90s, the two owners never continued their marketing. And this is where marketing comes in. You've got to keep marketing. You got to keep focused on sales. They were the two brothers that owned it prior, Larry and Alan Gorley. They had been running it, doing okay. We did the big infomercial. It made it successful. They made a bunch of money, but then they never continued their marketing. They kind of shut it down. And so from the last 20 years, the company got really sleepy, almost like it disappeared. The website wasn't really out there. They weren't in retail or distribution. And so the company revenues dropped. They decided to retire. And my brother said, why don't we buy it? He asked me, and I will tell you that this is probably, between this and the Sonicare, these are the two best products I've ever sold, ever marketed. It's just a great product. It's kind of an old school label, but this is a non-toxic, biodegradable, pet, planet, and people-friendly cleaning product. It cleans anything and everything. And so I thought, this is the opportunity to finally build a brand myself, not just build a brand for someone else. I've had 3 of my clients reach #1 on the Inc. 5000, Sonicare, Orange Glow, and Spacebag. And I've had many more get in the top 100. I have 3 clients that sold their company for $500 million or more. I mean, that's huge. And I saw them do it, and in many cases, I helped them along the way, in a big way, with our marketing. Now, I don't necessarily have ambitions to sell a company for $500 million. I don't know that that's where we're gonna go with this, but we are definitely building this company to have an exit. And this is unlike how I've ever operated my businesses. Usually I just ran Envision, kind of just ran it to make an income. And you have to shift your mindset if you're an entrepreneur from, do I own a business or do I own a job? So think about that. And the difference is everything, because when you start realizing you own a business, then that business can serve your needs and also the needs of the customer and also the needs of the employees and the team, and it can become bigger. Envision has the potential to be acquired in the future if I can build it out a little bit more, and we're on that growth trajectory. Wisdom is, like I said, kind of on the back burner right now, but Quick and Bright is my #2 focus. And we are actively looking to build out a team for Quick and Bright that can help with things like digital marketing, social media, et cetera. And so it's exciting. It's really a fun business. And a lot of the things you're probably learning in here, we're going through those steps ourselves, from project planning to how do we execute to how do you build a team and what is the sequence of things that you have to do. I'm gonna kind of hurry it along, but that's a little bit about the 3 companies. I will tell you that I made a conscious decision to back off my superfood business, because I realized that I just don't have the bandwidth to be CEO of 3 companies right now. And I don't have the team yet, but I'm building it. I have a partner in India who's gonna start helping me. I have 3 remote employees in the Philippines. I'm actually flying to the Philippines at the end of the month, November, to meet with my team, to build them up and train with them, and I'm gonna recruit 2 or 3 other team members to help me with the businesses. So I love international business, and I love working with different cultures, kind of like you mentioned, and it's a way to help the businesses grow. So one of the things that I will tell you today, after all the things that I've kind of learned, the micromanagement was a huge lesson for me. Realizing that I own a business, not a job, was a huge thing, and deciding that's what I was. Becoming an acquisition entrepreneur, which is what I did last year, that's a big thing for me, because the idea of me starting something from scratch, like I started Wisdom from scratch and I don't quite have traction, right? It's not profitable, it's not break even, I don't know where, it doesn't have a trajectory, it's just, I'm still trying to find its way, and that's just a lack of attention. Quick and Bright has traction. It has millions of customers that, it's only about a $1.1 million business today. We're gonna probably get it to 3 or 4 next year, and probably to 10 or 12 the 3rd year. We're on that trajectory, so it's exciting to build it. But I bought a company, and instead of doing everything and figuring it out from the ground up, I'm adding my own marketing power, my brother and I's marketing power to help. So I'm taking my unique skill set in marketing and adding that to this company, but also in the role of CEO. And we're co-CEOs, with him being primarily the day-to-day, and me sort of the virtual CEO that does most of the high-level selling, bringing in the legal, the network, and investors and business planning. So I have a business coach that helps me, because when you work with other people, or when you work with your brother or anybody, you need outside help to help you, with making key decisions. If we think we can make all the decisions ourselves, we gotta look in the mirror, because it's not possible. You've gotta have outside help. Mentors, a board of advisors, a business coach, people like that can make all the difference in the world. and will be key to your success, which is one of the reasons why I like to speak and talk to people, is because I had those people helping me along the way. I didn't always listen, but I certainly had them. You know, one of the things that Fred asked is the perspective and the importance of organization and planning in business, and the focus on project management. So I will tell you that this is one of the areas that I love planning, and I love thinking about the big picture, and I think one of the reasons I like being an entrepreneur is I like the big vision. And I understand the importance of planning and breaking it down into projects and tasks, and then you get your team and you assemble it. Executing that is not always as easy. And part of it is just because you can spend a lot of time planning, but then when it gets to actually talking to other people about those plans, you go through this mental checklist of, am I organized enough? Am I prepared enough? Is this the right person? But at the end of the day, the more you share those issues instead of keep them inside, the better you are at getting, more information is revealed, and you end up realizing that, okay, together we can do this. All by myself, it's going to be really hard, and you're going to struggle. So I've struggled with execution. As you can see, there's a common theme. I often think that I'm the smartest person to do stuff, but I've learned over the last few years that's 100% not true. And I now have like more people around me that are very, very smart, and I can say, hey, you're really better at this. What do you need from me? You know, what do you need? Do you need capital? Do you need other people? Do you need decisions? I can help with that. So I've changed my role. So that's a little bit about that. And but I constantly am working on execution. That's our theme right now. My brother and I are both reading a book called The 4 Disciplines of Execution, and we're creating a regular meeting schedule. It's very important amongst partners and amongst key team members that you have regular meeting schedules that's like an accountability, so that you know, okay, what did we say we were going to do? Here's the project, here's when we want it to be delivered. When did we say, you know, what's the next indicated step? And can we meet and talk about that? And when you do meet and talk about that, it's like, are we moving forward, or is there a roadblock? And what can we do to solve it? My attention is always all over the place, and I have to bring it in and focus it. And so because of that attention, some people call it ADD, I don't know, because I've never been diagnosed with that, but I'm sure that I have to think, I see so many things at once, but I have to stop and go, well, what's the #1 priority? And then you focus on that, and the more attention you get to it, the more you can influence it. Now, you can't always change it, but you can influence it. You know, we have less control than we think that we have. You can influence it and see what other people have to say in it, and then at the end of the day, see what happens, see what the data tells you, and move forward. So we can probably get close to questions here pretty soon. Yeah, so, you know, some of the bigger challenges I've run into are, you know, that feeling like I have to do everything myself. Also, this execution component, being sort of paralyzed by having too much to do. I don't mind admitting that. I think I get a lot of things done in a given day, but I also get paralyzed by too many things going on, and then I tell myself, look, I need a break, and I go do that. I mentioned earlier how important health is. So all the ambition you have in the world for your career and your business is great, but if you don't have your health, that's going to be the only wish you'll ever have is to have better health. So I've made health my priority for many years now, and I make a point to take care of my health, both in terms of what I eat and my environment and just exercise. So I highly recommend making that part of your daily discipline somehow. Relationships. So when I stand up here and I talk about the different things that have happened and the things I've learned, and I'm pretty good at marketing, good at sales. The most valuable asset I have is my network. So it's the people you meet along the way that make all the difference, those relationships. And I told you that I went on this journey to do the Camino. It kind of just, it came about for one reason, and it ended up being a whole different reason that I ended up doing it. Like I said, I had a business meeting there, but I thought, well, you know, walking this Camino de Santiago, I've heard a little bit about it and how transformative it could be. I was walking 25 kilometers a day by myself, not working, not on my phone, just in the beautiful Spanish countryside. And I realized that all my life I've been living to work. Like, I just work so hard, and I'm trying to start businesses, and I'm always trying to do different things and leave something important behind. But in the end, I realized that I really want to work to live. And that shift has been profound for me because I'm not working any less, but now I know why I'm working. It's the people I met along the way, it's the relationships, it's the fun of getting to work with my brother. And you know, after doing this for a long time, those are just the kinds of lessons you learn. And if I were to try to talk to my 25 or 28-year-old self, I would say, make sure your priorities are straight. You know, work to live. And what does living mean? It's just the simple things, just enjoying your family, your friends, the conversations, you know, the big questions, so that you can, you know, I've made money, and I realized that you could make a lot of money more than you might need. It's not going to make you happier. It might make you life easier in some ways, but ultimately having that bigger purpose, you know, leaving something behind, having those strong relationships in that network, and those strong relationships can transform into a really much more exciting and fun business world where, you know, my partnerships with the people I work with, they're friendships. They're not just business relationships, and that they last a long time. So with that, I hope there was something useful in there. I'd love to answer questions on anything I talked about. I hope I didn't bore anybody, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. So yeah, tell me any questions, anything you want to drill down on? Go.
Hi, Sean.
What's your
Thank
name?
you. My name is Samir.
Samir.
Thank you for speech. I really found it interesting. My question would be, you mentioned execution.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the key point in execution that you improve, that you would advise everyone?
Good question. You know, at the end of the day, my brain gets filled up with all the details, and I see all the smart processes and all the apps I could use, and just the way I'd like to, you know, organize my work and all of this. And you can waste a lot of time doing that when at the end of the day, stop right where you are. What is the most important thing you need to be doing right now? Okay, bring in sales for Envision, because Envision is the goose that lays the golden egg, so I can afford to spend time on Quick and Right. Envision is what pays my salary, pays my mortgage. So I gotta focus on, so I focus on that one priority. So make your priorities clear, and then think about what are the objectives within that priority that need to be accomplished. So it's really just kind of don't distract yourself with too much process. I mean, the world wants to, I'm a productivity junkie, right? So I can talk to you all day about productivity tools, but that's a distraction in itself, okay? What do you need to accomplish? Okay, my brother actually and I are very different. I'm up here in the clouds thinking about plans and big picture, and he's like, we need to get sales, here's what has to happen. He just kind of runs out there. Now sometimes he doesn't think it through and we have to do it 3 times. but at the same time, he's very much like, this is what you gotta do. So when it comes to execution, first of all, talking about it with a partner is key. Second of all, just what is the most important thing you have to do today? And make sure you prioritize that above everything else, get it done. Now, at that point, you might have challenges, start working through those, you know? And what I find is that when I am honest with myself, and I just write down, here is what I have to do today. This is why it's important. Here's who I need to bring in. Here's what I have to write about. Here's the decision I have to make. When I focus in on just answering the question without a lot of processing, without almost just like a blink reaction, then you can sit back and go, okay, now let me think about this. Okay, let's take some time and let's get a meeting with a partner. It's just really, when it comes to execution, you've got to be very honest with yourself about the number one priority, and then just start putting a roadmap to getting that part done. Okay, and then once you have success in starting to feel like I had this objective and I got it done, you'll find that muscle will get better over time. Long-winded answer, but obviously I struggle with that one.
Thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Please.
Oh, thank you for today. I'm Tomo. My question is, as an entrepreneur, serial entrepreneur, you came up with many business ideas. So I want to ask you that how do you find the opportunity to start new business, and how do you distinguish from the good idea from the bad idea?
That's a great question. My first business idea was I was working for Rick Cesari at a company called the Juice Man Juicer, and they made a juice extractor. Okay, and I really love health and nutrition. It's like carrot juice and celery and parsley and all this great stuff. So while I was working for his company, I thought I want to start a juice bar. You know, I was going to call it Food for Thought. Okay. And I had I designed a palm tree, and I was going to serve acai bowls, and I was going to do like Nutric juicing and coffee and all this stuff. And I started working on a business plan back then. Later, Jamba Juicing had given me the idea, but you know, this was in 1991. It was a long time ago, and I thought that was a good idea. But I never followed through on the business plan. I don't know what happened. I just didn't follow through. I didn't execute the business plan. So I came up with that idea, and then I kind of let it go. I think it was probably a pretty good idea. Other people were successful at it. After that, my first agency was not really a business idea so much as two people coming together and building something. So I think the first, and I've had lots of ideas along the way. I think the key is, what is the idea that excites you and that you just like want to see happen, and you pursue that one. Truth Bar fell out of another project. It just kind of presented itself out of a bigger infomercial project I was doing, and the opportunity to create my own brand came up, and I thought, let's do this. And I just kind of put one foot in front of the other. I think key to that was getting some early capital, and I was able to sell the idea to my friend John Noakes, who put money in. Capital gives you that money, helps like pave the path for you, because if somebody says, hey, I'm willing to invest in your idea, then you move forward. Can I drill down on that more? Did that give you a good perspective? I mean, you're going to have lots of ideas. I have a lot of ideas. You know, even today, I have ideas for ebooks and for books, for courses. I start thinking about wanting to coach, marketing stuff, but you have to think about, like, if this is your only idea and you like it, you move forward with it. But I can't execute these ideas because I have other priorities. And believe me, I've run into problems adding new projects to my plate. I created a journal called the Envision Journal, and essentially it's a productivity journal that if you struggle with execution, if you struggle with attention, if you struggle with just motivation, you read my journal and it'll get you going through the day. You just follow the prompts, you fill in the blanks, and I thought, well, I could turn this into a book and sell it through a landing page and a funnel and the whole thing. I don't have the bandwidth to do that. Honestly, if I could find somebody else who's wanting to build all that out, I would partner with them, and they could take it and see if it's got legs. But that takes time too, right? And relationship and investment of time. So you just have to decide, like, what is the idea that, write your ideas in a journal, write them all down, and then test them out. By the way, I'll leave my card. I encourage you all to connect with me on LinkedIn. But if you ever have any questions about entrepreneurship or business or just need any guidance, I'm happy to answer questions. I'm open for doing that at any time on LinkedIn or anyway. So, yeah. Any other questions? Yes?
I would like to know what happens if you try not to be micromanager and trust people, but the outcome just doesn't match your expectation.
Yes. You know, honestly, my ego has been my biggest enemy all my life. Okay? One of my favorite Stoic philosophers wrote a book called Ego is the Enemy. But I just somehow convinced myself that I could do it. I could do it. I'm good. I'm the best person, and maybe you can help me out. So when I started my new company Envision in 2003, I decided not to be as much a micromanager. I wasn't, I'm not perfect, but I let go a lot, and that's when things started to work a lot better. So I actually didn't have expectations, but I did let go, and my life got better. So, and then over time, now I can tell you absolutely that my expectation is that if I do it all myself, it's either not going to get done or it won't get done as well as if I bring in the people around me. And when I bring them in, we always get further, faster. But if I do it myself, I might get there, but it'll take me too long. And now I don't have the time to take forever to do stuff because I have these very clear goals. So yeah, micromanagement is really a symptom of a lack of growth at that point. You just haven't grown past it. And in my case, because of my childhood, because of how I was raised, because of my mind, I wasn't able to let go of a lot of responsibility. I felt I had to do it to prove that I was smart. I was the youngest person. I was one of the youngest people in my first company. We had 30 employees in my first agency, and I was younger than more than half of them, and yet I was the owner. And that was a weird place to be because I'm telling people that I would normally say, you should be telling me what to do. Now I'm telling you what to do. Well, I didn't know. They might discover that I wasn't any good, right? And so I had this imposter syndrome in my first, 10 years of my career, but I got over that. It just takes time. Self-confidence, lots of work.
I have a question because nowadays it seems like everything is done. Like whatever you are looking for is already on the market. But every day we have an ideas like how to create new business or make any business better. My real question is like, how can you enter in the market with your idea, with your product? How make it tangible and accessible for everybody, even when the companies can be very high?
The competitive landscape can be high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you are very confident that your business idea is very good. Your product is gonna be very well
Sure.
done and sell. But the market is very hard when you are trying to
Absolutely.
entry.
Yeah, well, it's a great question. I'm going to give you an example of a company I'm really excited about. It's called Zeck, Z-E-C-K. And what Zeck is they present themselves as a presentation tool to present to your board of directors. So essentially what their product looks like is a website. You log in, you just get a link, like a magic link. You go there because you've been added to a list, and then what you see, instead of a PowerPoint presentation or a Google slide presentation or better, or all these different apps, or SharePoint, you have this beautiful website that lays out very clearly, the CEO, letter from the CEO, a cover page, letter from the CEO, your financials, your state, all the stuff. And it tells you exactly, kind of like the newsletters you get in your inbox, 2-minute read, 3-minute read for all the sections. Now, Ed Norton, who's a famous actor, is the co-founder of this, but this is a very simple concept that improves upon what's been out there before. And you ask yourself, if you were to look at the market, and I'm going to sign up for the product, I think today, it's expensive. It's normally $6,000 a year. They're going to cut it in half. But essentially, all my new presentations to my investors, my board, which I'm building, new pitches to clients can now go in this interface that is like, it's almost like a website. So it's easier to navigate than a PowerPoint. Nobody has to download it. Nobody has to open it up, or, you know, it's super interactive. And they just took something that kind of wasn't broken, because you can do all of that with a lot of different apps, but they improved upon it. And then what they did is they got the money. They had a clear vision, which is what you have, clear vision of how they know it's better, and yet they went and they sold that vision, selling, and then they got the money to build out one prototype so that they could do the pitch. And since their product is a presentation, of course they did it with that, and people were like, wow, this is impressive. So, you know, just, you need marketing, and you need sales, and you need a good vision, but you can do it. And there's plenty of room. There's plenty of room, particularly with AI coming on, to improve upon everything that's come before now. You can improve upon all of it and make it easier, better. It's all about just being more smart.
Excuse me, so just a time check, we're past time, so if you need to leave, please feel free to get up and go where you need to go. If Sean is available, we could take a few more questions, if you would like. I think there were some other hands out there.
Yes?
Hard to connect the foreign people together. So how is that important to this?
How important is it, or how to?
What is the important for us to network?
Okay, when it comes to networking, the most important thing is just to be genuine, right? It's just to, like, I really like people, you know, and if you have a genuine interest in other people, that is key to networking, you know, and so that means when you go to any kind of networking events, you are open-minded to hear and listen from new people, you know, and then how you network is getting out there, you know, going to conferences, meeting with new people. Usually, like I flew to Spain and I met with somebody in Portugal who was referred to me by somebody I trusted and knew, and he said, this is the guy to talk to. So I went over there, I did the meeting. Now Sergio, who's my friend in Portugal, he's gonna introduce me to distributors around the world. One person is gonna introduce me to all these distributors. And we spent a couple days together actually just becoming friends. We didn't talk business that much. We just became like people that we could trust each other. So trust, being open, being genuine. I mean, I don't know if that answers your question, but does that help? Yeah, you know, and then just go to places where you can network, you know, and, you know, I save every card. I have every card, I network with people on LinkedIn. I always go on LinkedIn after I meet somebody, and I always connect with them, because then they remember you, and they know they can find you if they need you. And I've had people who I've met, you know, go, hey, I remember you, and now they're reaching out, and I've gotten clients that way, so, yeah. There's somebody else. Oh, yes.
Thank you for your lecture today. This is just my interest, but I have a question about the long-term vision of your company.
Okay.
So you said like the acquisition of Quick and Dry doesn't take success because the synergy between the marketing skills and the high quality of product.
Yeah.
So my question is like, are you interested in buying acquiring another company, or like keep focus on the growth of Quick and Dry?
Right now, the plan is to build and sell Quick and Right within 3 to 5 years, ideally 3. And we're actually in year 1, so we're probably like 2 to 3 more years. So we have a lot of work to do. But I like I like acquisition entrepreneurship, but I also have been thinking about doing more writing and speaking and trying to help other people with their entrepreneur or investing in other companies like startups and things like that. You know, and being more like a virtual CEO for them rather than like acquiring a whole company myself. Because I'm at a point where I want to travel. Like next year, I'm going to take the entire month of September off and go back to Spain and do another pilgrimage. So I'm now like putting more time into like quality time living. But yeah, it's a good question. Oh, and then the back, you had a question.
Oh yeah, thank you. I wanted to ask. Often I hear CEOs feel lonely. How do you maintain your mental health?
It's a great question. It's true. It's a great question, and it can be really true because like it's hard to like. There's just not a lot of people you can call and say, "This is what I'm going through." Right? Thank you. Appreciate you coming. So I stay in touch with other CEOs. I network with them, and we sometimes call each other. There's two young brothers that are co-CEOs of a very successful digital startup, and sometimes I just pick up the phone and say, and they're making so much money. Oh my God, they both have like I mean, this isn't my style, but they both have like matching Ferraris, and they're just doing great. But they're lovely, and they're really good guys. They have 100 employees. They take great care of their team. But I'll just call them up and like, hey, how did you do it? And they'll talk to me, and sometimes they're like, you know, sometimes you just gotta build it brick by brick. You can't, there's no magic bullet, because they're younger than me, but they've done, in digital world, they've done way more than I have. That's a great question. Personally, I have a very strong group of friends, and I hike every weekend with them. And that camaraderie is like a brotherhood, and I lean on them a lot. And so and then I have now friends internationally, and we message each other on WhatsApp and just like, hey, how you doing? So I stay connected to the people that matter to me. Yeah.
Can I just add one more question?
Sure.
Sorry. Do you have any like proverbs that you often look back and like proverbs?
Proverbs?
Yeah.
That's a good question. By the way, I'm looking for interns to work on Quick and Bright, but I would say everybody message me. Proverbs is a good one. Off the top of my head, I might need a few minutes, but I will tell you that yes, I lean on them a lot, and yes, message me after, and not only will I give you some proverbs, but I can give you a reading list of some of the best books on entrepreneurship that I've ever read. I'm happy to do that. I also have cards if anybody would like them. But any other questions? Thanks for staying extra. I appreciate it. Anybody? Oh.
I have a question about wisdom.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's the most hard for marketing wisdom?
Superfood? Yeah.
Because I felt like I saw the product, it's a mushroom superfood protein.
Yeah.
And I thought it's like very rare
Sure.
protein, and then it's difficult to encourage customers to purchase this product because it's rare, and then it's hard to understand why they have to buy this one. So I was wondering what's the most difficult part for marketing.
So the truth is that mushroom superfood products are a great market, and thank you. And they're a great market, and there's people out there doing well. But for whatever reason, maybe it's because it says protein on there, it hasn't quite connected. So one of the things I am looking for is somebody that, since I already have a website, I have product, it's a very simple business. I don't have a staff. It's just a straight digital direct-to-consumer business. I'm trying to figure out like how do we change maybe the name of the product or change the positioning of the product or the story fundamentally what I did is I created a powder that if you take it every day, you're just gonna live forever. I mean, it's amazing stuff. It really is. It's like 6 different functional mushrooms, adaptogens. I created it. It's protein, it's plant-based protein. It's really healthy, really good. It's like the morning routine. But it's just a matter of how do you position that. And then the rest is like social media, pay-per-click, and you know, blogs and things like that. But that's a business opportunity. If anybody wants to partner with me, I'm ready to go.
How's that for a unique selling proposition? Take it every day and you'll live forever.
Yeah. There you go.
Okay,
Thanks, guys.
last question, and then we need to close.
So I don't have any background for business, and I didn't, watch or read news from my childhood not so much. So I sometimes feel like I have a lack of information for the world in affairs or world in news or something like that. But as an entrepreneur, what do you think is important? What do you think is important to get information about the world news or article or book or what do you think is?
That's a great question. I'll just tell you that I really appreciate podcasts, and there's a number of podcasters that I love that they kind of connect me to other thinkers, and I think that in a podcast you can get some of the greatest, latest thinking about topics, and that's where I get a lot of new ideas. Is podcasts. I find myself interested in lots of different things. I pay attention to just kind of general culture. I don't spend a ton of time on social media. I get fatigued by it, and I also get frustrated by all the misinformation, which I can kind of see through. But I save a lot of good ads on there. But as far as just knowledge about the world, particularly the business world, it's podcasts. That's where I get a lot of great ideas. And again, if you connect with me, you can either take a card or my LinkedIn. Fred can give you guys can connect with me, and I can share, podcast suggestions, books, proverbs. Like, you're giving me lots of good ideas for my book. This is good. I am working on a book, so.
Okay,
All right, thank you.
excellent. Okay, Sean, thank you again so
Thank you.
much. Super. So I'm gonna go have a cup of coffee with Sean and continue, but I look forward to tomorrow, to your reviews. Welcome to stay and work with your team or finish up, have lunch, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just leave them up here. Feel free to email me or text me on LinkedIn. Great to meet you. Great questions. I'll send you some proverbs.